Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Porsche Cup Challenge multi-class sports car racing. Today, we're at Circuit of the Americas for today's main event. As always, I'm your host, James East, bringing the action 1080p 60 frames a second. On behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, looks like drivers starting to make their way out. And let's go ahead and run through the starting order for today. On pole, Jack Busser in the number 32. Aiden Young starting second. We've got Daniel Smith starting third, Jason Lyons starting fourth, Carl Ribbing starting fifth, and starting things off for the Porsche Cup Challenge drivers, Michael McLeod starting sixth, Jeff Seville starting seventh, Julian Swanson starting eighth overall, Michael Carrillo starting ninth, Adam Schmidt starts 10th, Tyler Sage Anderson starting 11th, Bill Haynes starting 12th. Let's cycle it on back to Shannon Matharal starting 13th, Dan Marrera starting 14th, Jose Maria starting 15th, Tyler Miraglia starting 16th, John Rivera starts 17th, Vlad Sanchez will round out the 18-car grid here today as we get things queued up and ready to go. Now we've got GTPs and PCC drivers out on track. You'll see at the top of your screen. It's actually going to be Jack Busser in the 32 will be starting on pole for the GTP. McLeod starting on pole for the PCC drivers. As we get ready for that iRacing safety car to make its way down pit road. And we will get things fired off here at Circuit of the America. Jack Busser in that 32 on the throttle early on. Aiden Young tucks in behind him. And looks like our GTPs are going to go single file here up into turn one. Meanwhile, there goes the PCC drivers. McLeod with a massive launch. A bit of a gap, but it looks like it's going to be a big send from Jeff Seville and carnage in turn one. Seville was never going to make that. And a lot of drivers showing involved. Seville, McLeod, Swanson, Matharal, all involved in some off-track shenanigans. And there goes Seville. No, that is going to be, I believe, Bill Haynes we saw spinning the wrong way. Adam Schmidt also involved. We saw him parked right in the hot track. So a little bit of carnage here early on to start things off at Circuit of America. And who's going to come out on top? That's Tyler Anderson. Has gained 5 spots in the 115. Taking over the top position early on. A bit of carnage to start things off here under the Texas sun. Oh, and look at that, Swanson. Hard on the binders to avoid getting into the back of Anderson. And we just had a sell it. Yeah, Jack Busser in off track as he was leading the overall. That's going to give an opportunity for Aiden Young to tuck up the inside line. Young, the black and yellow 427. Looks like Jack is going to be able to defend and hold on to the race and overall lead here. Daniel Smith lagging slightly behind, and we've also got great racing going on in the PCC class as well. As things are hopefully starting to settle down a little bit. A very wild start to this evening. Now Vlad Sanchez just lost a spot to Dan Marrera and Tyler Miraglia, trying to get things back sorted through so he can get back up in the hunt. Now, it looks like John Williams Rivera, I believe, was a DNS, did not make it onto this main event, so unfortunately will not be in the hunt here. And speaking of hunt, Aiden Young still right behind Jack Busser. Now, Jack had that little bit of an off-track excursion. Oh, as Jose Maria has a bit of a bobble there in the Valvoline back 21. That's going to give Jeff Seville the 5th in class and 10th overall position. And now Maria's going to have Carrillo right behind the 29 machine. Flying through the S's in these Porsches. Carrillo looks the big lunge up the inside line. Carrillo takes over the 6th place in class spot. That's going to put Moreira back in the hunt here. Moreira's up 1 spot in the 404, tucked in right behind Maria's 21 machine. I just saw an off track. I think it was Jason Lyons who's going to lose a spot here as Carl Ribbing works the outside line. No, Lyons fires back on the inside, defending that 4th overall position. Carl Ribbing going to be looking for an opening here as it looked like Lyons almost off track again, really testing the limits of the track surface. Now, I'm not sure about on iRacing, at least in my motorcycling experience. Normally, if you dip 4 tires off track, they consider that a cut-through opportunity as your race leader is going to change here. The overall, Aiden Young takes over the top spot from Jack Busser. Now, Daniel Smith, sitting in 3rd, has to be happy watching these race leaders battle so fiercely. Knowing every time they're this tight on track, that's another opportunity he might be in the hunt here. And we also have a race for the lead in the Porsche Cup Challenge. A 3-way battle. Tyler Anderson, Julian Swanson, Michael McLeod. McLeod coming off a big win last week, wants to keep that momentum going. Last week at Jerez, we saw quite a bit of carnage. Not quite as matched here so far at COTA as I say that. Anderson steps the back end out. Julian Swanson's going to take over the race lead for the PCC drivers. Aiden Young holding on to the race lead for the GTP as well as the overall. And Michael McLeod just hoping for a bit of a mistake here from anybody in front of him. McLeod started on pole in class. He's down 2 spots. The black, purple, and blue number 15, the Canadian Michael McLeod. Swanson holding on to the race lead here in that number 51 in class. Aiden Young up front has put about an 8/10 gap over Jack Busser, but we've seen some off-track excursions for the GTP drivers that make it tough to really stretch your legs, and loving the overhead shot here at COTA from the tower. As drivers rocking and rolling, we just saw Adam Schmidt. Looks like he took over a spot. And oh, what just happened? Julian Swanson has an off track, and as soon as we pan away, Tyler Anderson back in the hunt. That 115 machine charging up the hill. Look at this. It's going to be a big send from Swanson up the inside line. Oh, it's anybody's guess here as we hint at going 3 wide. Michael McLeod wants in the mix. Swanson takes back over the class lead. Anderson right there with him. McLeod searching for an opening. He's so incredibly close. So McLeod, let's see if we can get an onboard with McLeod here. All right, as we do. What a great shot. Trying to muscle that thing in alongside Anderson. As they are nose to tail, that is going to give Swanson a bit of reprieve here. And look at that, there's Jeff Seville. He had all sorts of bad luck last week. Wants to get back in it. As Anderson and McLeod go door to door. That's going to punch a big hole in the air for Jeff Seville. And it also looks like that's Motheral as well as Carrillo still here with a chance as well. McLeod briefly taking over the second place in class. Seville trying to interject himself into the party. And just like that, Anderson's going to get shuffled back to 4th in class, 9th overall. The Porsche Cup Challenge drivers here to put on a show, ladies and gentlemen. Michael McLeod has fallen back about 1.3 seconds. Julian Swanson feeling confident here. He's got clean air on the nose of that 51 machine and keeping some of the shenanigans far behind. Now at the tail end of this little freight train of 1st through 6th in class, that's Michael Carrillo, the 29, has good pace, involved in some early incidents, but he is currently down 2 spots from where he qualified. And let's see what's going to happen as they charge up the hill into turn 1. Now Tyler Maraglia comes down pit road very early on here tonight. I wonder if he had some damage from those initial incidents. As we watch Carrillo try and keep the pressure on Motheral. Motheral up 3 spots in class, 3 overall. Maraglia rolls back out of pit road, so looks like he was able to get that machine sorted. He spent 22.4 seconds in his pit stall, so I would guess there's a little bit of repairs being done there. And we've seen it in the past. Just because you have an early incident doesn't mean you're out of this thing. As I say that, Adam Schmidt with a brief off-track excursion, that number 12. He's going to lose the hunt here of that pretty intent pack. Your overall race leader, Aiden Young, still out front, 1.4 seconds ahead of 2nd overall, 2nd in class, Jack Busser. Always impressed with these drivers, how close the racing is anywhere you look out on track. As you can see, Julian Swanson, class leader, still has about a second advantage over McLeod. McLeod has Seville linked up right behind, and it looks like, yep, there's Aiden Young, who's going to be cutting through the field here, trying to get through as much traffic as he can before he gets to turn 1. I just saw Jack Busser with a big lunge at the inside line, pushes a little bit wide there, but able to facilitate that pass before he got too much in the mix. So Aiden Young just has class leader Julian Swanson ahead, and Young taking a very wide swooping line to get through there. And let's see if we can get a tighter shot of Jack Busser. So before today's main event, drivers were given pretty good coaching instruction on how to safely navigate traffic, as well as to hold a good line in the case of our PCC drivers, to yield to the GTP faster class cars, but also minimize the time you're giving up. Now, the good and the bad is traffic is going to be the same for just about everybody out there. And to finish these mini endurance races, you have to be there in the end, so it's about risk assessment and management in these main events. And we had 5 GTP drivers coming out tonight. We had 13 entries for the Porsche Cup Challenge series of drivers. And Julian Swanson starting to have another freight train of PCC drivers behind him as you've got more and more GTPs coming through. That's going to be Daniel Smith in 95, as well as Carl Ribbing linked up around the outside line. No, excuse me, I think that was Daniel Smith and Jason Lyons working through traffic. Anderson putting the pressure here. And this is interesting. Michael McLeod shows coming down pit road very early on. So maybe looking for some clean track, and McLeod thinks he has the pace, but is having a rough go with traffic management. He may come in for an undercut. Now, we did not see McLeod involved in any big incidents, so I don't think that's going to be a pit stop necessitated out of damage repairs. And that's going to give Julian Swanson, class leader for PCC, a very comfortable gap. You can see Michael Carrillo not too far ahead here of this battle for 4th in class, 9th overall. Loving the purple and green highlights on Carrillo's number 29 machine. Now, looks like Montreal's starting to close that gap about a half second behind as we go on board that number 19 machine. Grabbing the downshifts in the Porsche. He's about a half second, let's call it about 6/10 back from Anderson. As your overall race leader, Aiden Young, has set the fastest lap of the race once more, a 150.18 for the overall on the 427. Now let's go a little bit further up in the action. Daniel Smith as Jason Lyons closing the gap. That is going to be the battle for 3rd overall, 3rd in class. Both Smith and Lyons currently running exactly where they qualified, as we've got some sort of lag going on. Let's see if we can get that corrected. All right, looks like we got it fixed there. Right as we do, Jack Buster showed a very brief off track in the 32 machine. Aiden Young still holding on to the race lead. Daniel Smith, 3rd overall, 3rd in class. Julian Swanson still leading the Porsche Cup Challenge drivers. Now, we've only had a couple of drivers come down pit road for a green flag stop. That was Michael McLeod as well as Bill Haynes, both with a lap 7 pit stop. As we pan back here to Julian Swanson, still has a freight train of drivers behind him. Michael McLeod, Jeff Seville, 2nd and 3rd in class, 7th and 8th overall. Swanson doing a great job defending here at COTA, though. Holding on to this thing. Now, a long lap time here at Circuit of the America. PCC drivers doing about 2-minute, 10-second lap times at the fastest. And that might get slowed down here slightly as they've got Daniel Smith and Jason Lyons cutting through the field once more. Thankfully, traffic able to slide through here without interfering too much in the upcoming battle for the lead for the PCC drivers. Looks like Michael McLeod back down pit road. Very, very odd. Not quite sure why he's down pit road again. I wonder if he got some sort of speeding penalty. We'll have to check on that. So that'll leave Julian Swanson leading the PCC drivers. Jeff Seville right there behind us. Michael Carrillo moves up to 3rd in class. Now McLeod spent 9 seconds in his pits on that stop. That is his second one of the race, the only driver to complete 2 stops. As Seville keeping the hammer down, he's got a 9/10 deficit to Julian Swanson for that class battle for position, trying to catch the toe off of Swanson's number 51 machine. And if we go back, a pretty heated battle for third. You've got Michael Carrillo, Tyler Anderson, Mothral, all there within about a half second of each other. And you can also see, I believe that was Dan Morera in the 404, lagging just slightly behind. So things may have calmed down slightly here. We've seen some bobbles on pit road that definitely changed the outcome of the race lead, or battles of classes we've been seeing here. Now we're going to check back in on race leader Aiden Young here. Let's try this again, as unfortunately the iRacing's not cooperating here, as we're missing about 20 seconds of footage. But Julian Swanson holding on to the race lead in PCC. He's got Jeff Seville hot in pursuit here. As Swanson up 2 positions, the number 51 machine. Jeff Seville right behind. He's currently running exactly where he qualified, 2nd in class and 7th overall. And Julian Swanson doing everything he can to fend off that number 3 machine. Michael Carrillo still in hot pursuit, while Aiden Young leading the overall. Oh, and it looks like Seville getting a little bit racy here. Looking at the inside line of Swanson, closing the gap by about 0.2 of a second. Now these drivers have less than 30 minutes left to go in the main event. For the most part, nobody has come down pit road except for Miraglia. Looks like, and then I believe as Michael McLeod had those 2 stops as well. And Miraglia, unfortunately, it looks like he is going to have a solo excursion there off track. That is shortly after leaving pit road. And while that's happening, Jeff Seville, a big lunge up the inside line of Swanson. Has the elbows out, takes over the race lead for our Porsche Cup Challenge drivers. And for the first time in a long time, Julian Swanson is going to be playing second fiddle here. So let's see if Seville's going to be able to hammer down that number 3 machine. Try and put a bit of a gap there on Swanson. He's gained about a 0.6 advantage so far. And while that's going on, it looks like Daniel Smith has company. Has not been able to shake off Jason Lyons for the duration of this event. And I think Lyons is actually going to come down pit road, maybe looking for some clean track as well. And that is going to put Aiden Young up front. He's got a fair amount of clean track ahead before he runs into PCC traffic once more. In just a couple of short minutes, we'll see the cross green and white flags signaling the halfway mark of today's main event. And something has happened. Carl Ribbing in the 44 machine was running 4th overall, 4th in class. He's got problems meeting the safety barrier here at Circuit of the Americas. Now Jason Lyons, who came down pit road just the lap prior on lap 10, might still be in the hunt here, at least for a 4th overall. Now we saw it last week where we almost had some PCC drivers finishing in overall podium positions. With the rough attrition rate we saw out of these GTP drivers. Other battles going out on track. We have got Tyler Anderson trying to track down Mothral. That is going to be for 4th in class, 9th overall, 2nd overall, and 2nd in GTP, excuse me. Jack Buster, he's going to come down pit road for his one and only scheduled green flag stop. Right just about at that halfway mark. Mothral getting his momentum back, has pulled that gap to about 1.8 seconds over Anderson. Let's see, not a ton of hard chargers so far that we're seeing, but with the glitch in the old matrix in the broadcast software, it's not showing most of our data before lap 9 or race time 1930, so that data is lost to us. Jack Buster returns out on track. Carl Ribbing coming down pit road. I'm expecting a longer stop here for Ribbing. I think he maybe has a little bit of damage on that 44 machine. And I think, yes. I thought he missed his spot there. Thankfully he didn't. And let's see, we'll try and keep an eye out on that, see how long Ribbing sends in his pit stall. Now Jack Buster, Jason Lyons both spent 23 to 26 seconds for their stop. Carl Ribbing so far, he's out in 22.4, so must not have had too much damage as Aiden Young continues to slice through the field here as he's starting to get deep into the weeds with PCC traffic. Now we are past the halfway mark. Aiden Young has been displayed the crossed green and white flag. Now Aiden Young is going to be very careful here, picking his passes through traffic as he's starting to catch up to 4th place PCC driver. That's going to be Mothral. And looks like he's definitely going to take his time looking to the outside line. Able to use that downforce in the 427 to his advantage. And man, he is cutting through here. A white knuckle moment for Aiden Young. And I want to see, let's see if we can get an onboard queued up here for Young and show the closing distances. And a long time here at Coda to stay on the throttle as he's very quickly closing the gap. Dude, that's going to be class leaders, Julian Swanson and Jeff Seville, just ahead of them. Ooh, goes to the outside line. And able to slice through nice and easy. And Aiden Young coming down pit road for his one and only scheduled green flag stop. That's going to leave just Daniel Smith out, who has yet to box. And it looks like as well, Anderson keeping the pressure on Mothral. This could be a battle that shapes up. This is going to be for the final podium spot in PCC. Anderson trying to get around Mothral, not able to find a spot just quite yet. That was Daniel Smith sliding through in the GTP. And Aiden Young finds himself off track. Looks like the rear wing has been displaced, I believe. Yeah, so we panned over to Daniel Smith to see what the car is supposed to look like. So Aiden Young definitely going to be driving around without any aero there. Now, he just came out of pit road, so I'm not sure if he had cold tires or maybe what the issue was. But I've got to say that GTP looks pretty clean here. Sans wing. But that is going to give Jack a chance to fire through. Here comes Jack Bush from the 32 machine. Now, Michael McLeod had an off-track excursion during this as well, so I'm impressed that Aiden able to fend off as long as he can, but I think Buster in the 32 machine with the full aero effect is going to be eventually able to make that pass here. He's about a quarter second back, picking his placement very, very quickly. Shannon Mothral and the Shiners Bach car has an incident. There goes Adam Schmidt. And Aiden Young without, oh, it's starting to complicate here for Aiden Young. Without the aero, things are getting worse and worse. So Aiden Young down pit road, getting that machine hammered back into place. Daniel Smith, the overall race leader, has to be happy with the overcut move here in that 95. And it looks like he's got a fair amount of clean track here. Now Young showing in and out of his pit stall in 3.3 seconds. Not quite sure if that's accurate. Must have had a fast repair in tow. As that was Young's second stop of the race, so comes in, gets what is effectively a free new car, and he is good to go. Now Jeff Seville still leading in the Porsche Cup Challenge class. Julian Swanson running second in class with Tyler Anderson running third. And it looks, yep, there we go. Dan Morera closing the gap once more to Anderson. That will be the battle for the final podium position for the PCC drivers. Anderson down pit road as well as Mothral. Julian Swanson had a brief moment as well. Luckily, he's got a 12-second advantage over Morera. And lap traffic, not as much of a factor here at COTA as I was expecting, because that was Jack Busser who's able to slide right on through of Seville. No, excuse me, of Swanson. Looks like he's catching up to Seville here very, very shortly. Thankfully, the track's so wide here at Circuit of the Americas, helps facilitate clean passes for these drivers. So Busser currently about 30.3 seconds back from Daniel Smith. But we've got problems out on track. Shannon Motheral and I believe Anderson both off track here. Jeff Seville is going to take this opportunity to come down pit road for his green flag stop. We got about 15 minutes left in today's main event. Motheral about a second ahead of Anderson here. They've fallen back to now battling 8th in class. Now, Jeff Seville is going to return to the racing surface. And he's going to be 5th in class, 10th overall. Michael McLeod starting to catch up to Adam Schmidt for that final podium spot in PCC. McLeod had those 2 early stops and looks like he may be able to overcome a little bit of adversity here. Now overall race leader Daniel Smith coming down pit road finally late into the race on lap 18. Let's see how that's going to play out. Jack Busser running second right now, was showing about 30 seconds back from Smith. Smith finally hitting his stall. We've been seeing about 20-second pit stop times for these GTP drivers. And Busser will take over the race lead. Daniel Smith leaves his pit stall. He spent 24.75 seconds in the box. And it looks like Busser is going to have almost a 12-second advantage here over now second place Daniel Smith. Busser, as things are settled out, showing, yes, a 13-second advantage. Dan Morera down pit road for his one and only stop. Julian Swanson still your class leader for PCC. As we pan the camera back, he's got a 14.5-second advantage over Schmidt. Schmidt has Michael McLeod about 8/10 behind him. And it looks like we have some more action here at GTP. Aiden Young in that 427 was running so well. Now has Jason Lyons in his sights. Young has closed the gap to 4/10 of a second, is closing very fast to the back of Lyons. Oh, a big peek up the inside line. Young has to lift and get hard on the brakes to avoid tagging the corner panel of Jason Lyons, but Lyons surely knows he was almost sent to the shadow realm, as Young still a quarter of a second back, trying to get that momentum built up once more. Now, while this battle's going on, you also have the battle for, I believe that's going to be second in class, Adam Schmidt versus Michael McLeod. And let's see what's going to happen here going into turn one. Young squarely in the draft. Is he going to have a big send up the inside line? Takes a quick peek. Thinks better of it. Was a little bit too far back. And that's the problem as well. If you have a rough turn one, it really stalls the momentum to charge down the hill. So sometimes it's beneficial to these drivers to maybe wait a second, slow in, fast out, and make it up in the next portion of the raceway. Adam Schmidt comes down pit road. That's going to give, I believe, McLeod the second place position as he passes Schmidt, who is on pit road. McLeod having a bit of a redemption arc here after those two early pit stops. I did not count him in as a podium contender. Jeff Seville moves up to third in class, 8th overall. Young hunting for an opening here. Looks to the outside line of Lyons. Lyons defends. Pushes a little bit wide. Stalls the run of Young. Now Mothral is in pit road for his second time here tonight. Wondering if he's got some repairs to do on that number 19 machine. As we continue watching the battle for third in class and third overall for our GTP drivers, Jason Lyons, Aiden Young, separated by, for the most of the last lap, was about a quarter to 3/10 of a second. It's going to go back down to a quarter as they charge up into turn one. Here we go, Aiden Young, hard on the binders. And makes quick work of Lyons. So now Lyons going to be set up on the outside line here, trying to carry a little bit more momentum. Oh, and a huge moment there for Lyons. That car was almost airborne as he aggressively hit the curbing here. Thankfully was able to hold on to it, but it's going to lose almost 2 full seconds to Aiden Young. Now, Julian Swanson, race leader for the Porsche Cup Challenge, down pit road. That may put Michael McLeod. McLeod might be back in this thing. Yes, McLeod is going to take over the race lead as Swanson is on pit road. Jeff Seville back up into second. Swanson rolling out of pit road. He spent 10.3 seconds in his stall, but Michael Carrillo is going to move up to third in class, 8th overall for RPC. This is still very much anybody's guess here on how this is going to break down. Oh, Carl Ribbing, running 5th in GTP, has a solo incident. We've got less than 8 minutes left to go, and I still don't know how this is going to shape out. If you would have told me after lap 2 that Michael McLeod was going to be back up in the hunt for a back-to-back race win, I would have thought you were absolutely insane. Jeff Seville second in class, Michael Carrillo third in class. And that just goes to show it is anybody's guess here at the Porsche Cup Challenge. And the sheer determination of these drivers can get you back into a podium hunt, if not a win. As most of the incidents we've seen so far have been single car incidents. As I say that, Dan Marrera, Adam Schmidt lean on each other in that 5th place in class, 10th overall position. Marrera in the 404, Schmidt in the number 12. And I think I just saw Daniel Smith behind. Yeah, there's Smith running second in class, second overall. So he's about to interject himself into this PCC battle for 5th. Now Smith running about 20 seconds back from Jack Buster in the 32 machine. Smith slicing through this battle for 5th, and the PCC way wide, not wanting to get tied up with any other racers at this point. And able to get through nice and clean. Meanwhile, Barrera and Schmidt will be able to continue their battle here for 5th. They're separated by about 3/4 of a second as Smith cut through. And look at that, Barrera far on the left side of the track, not wanting to give any draft support to Schmidt here. As I believe that's Aiden Young catching up to the tail end of him as well. Young showing about 8 seconds back from Smith. He's got to be hoping for some sort of mistake out of the top 2 drivers if he wants a chance at the top spot. And Young is going to come flying around him through here in the chicane. Able to very quickly navigate traffic. And Barrera and Schmidt really didn't lose any time there. Still separated by about a half second. Somewhere between a half second and 7/10. That was a wrong driver there. So the pre-race briefing coming into today's main event definitely paid off for these drivers. We talked about it earlier in the show, but they're talking, being told about line choices and how to let faster drivers through while minimizing time they would lose out on track, and the drivers adhering to that extremely well. As you see Barrera and Schmidt nose to tail as more GTP traffic comes flying around. 2/10 separating Barrera and Schmidt. Are we going to see a send by Schmidt? He looks up to the inside line. Barrera realizes there's contact between the two. Schmidt showing briefly as having the position. Barrera takes it back, pushes a little bit wide there. Schmidt right in tow. Drivers have about little bit over 4 minutes left to go. In the battle for 5th in PCC, they are elbows out here. A half second separating Barrera and Schmidt at this point. Let's see Schmidt running out of time here. If he wants a chance at a little bit higher finishing position. Oh, charges down the hill, had a great exit out of turn 1. Right now, your top 3 for GTP: Jack Buster, Daniel Smith, Aiden Young. For Porsche Cup Challenge, it's Michael McLeod, Jeff Seville, and Michael Carrillo. But all eyes are on this very heated battle for 5th in PCC. Dan Barrera pushes wide, has a bit of a bobble. That is going to put Schmidt right back in striking position. And it looks like Julian Swanson was briefly catching up. Oh, here we go. Schmidt pulls up alongside Barrera. I was saying it looked like Swanson was catching up to Carrillo. But Schmidt with a great pass there. No contact for this time. Going to be interesting to see if they go another lap. I think they're going to. As Jack Buster way off on the top right of the raceway. Oh, and it looked like a bit of a bobble there from Barrera. I'm not sure what that was, if that was a misshift. As we saw a puff of smoke, I don't believe that should have been braking. And Schmidt is hammering down here. Checking in on race leader Jack Busser. Not sure if he's going to take the checker this time by or maybe the white flag. I would imagine he'll have one more lap left to go here at COTA. But he has a very, very comfortable 26-second margin over Daniel Smith, running second in class and second overall. So one more lap left to go for Jack Busser. The checker will be out next time by as he blasts up the field here in turn 1. And Jack Busser looking very good here, very smooth. Right now the field is maybe separated a little bit. We just had a report Bill Haynes passed Tyler Anderson. Anderson have a bit of a bobble late into the race, and that's got to be frustrating as a driver to finish or to run this long, 50 minutes plus in the case of Jack Busser, and then have a late incident very far into the race. And here we go for the final time. The checkered flag will be thrown. I think the two PCC drivers might be happy. Wait a second, where is the checkered flag? I thought that was going to be it 25 laps in. But I'm not seeing it for Jack Busser here. He might have to go one more. So it's Busser, Smith, Young. 1, 2, 3 in PCC, or excuse me, for GTP. For PCC, it's McLeod, Seville, and Carrillo. Not quite sure what happened there on live timing. It was supposed to be a 50-minute main event. I gotta say, that's probably the first time I've seen it in iRacing. I've seen it in real-life racing where a marshal will forget to throw a flag sometimes, and then racers are all given the hand out the window, or in our case on bikes, a hand up going, hey, what's going on? But I would imagine iRacing, maybe something I just missed here, but definitely a little uncharacteristic for the sim platform. Now, out of the 18 entries, it looks like we're going to have 16 that finish here today. Montreal was forced into a retirement on lap 13. John William Rivera, unfortunately, did not make the grid, but we just had a report Aiden Young, late into the race, has a bit of a bobble. Young was closing the gap on Daniel Smith, but he's going to run out of time here, I think. As let's see if the checker is thrown this time for Jack Busser in the 32 machine. I see a blue flag being displayed. I'm not going to lie to the fans at home, extremely confused. Something is definitely amiss with our broadcasting software. So we'll just run these drivers until iRacing has said they've had enough. As it looks like Dan Marrera starting to catch up to the back of Adam Schmidt once more. Now these two have put on some great racing earlier on in the main event. And Michael McLeod, as we do see the white flag being thrown, McLeod down pit road. So the white flag is officially out for these drivers. Let's see if the checkered is thrown for Jack this time by Jeff Seville, showing as taking over the race lead. What is happening here at COTA? The checkered is indeed out. Jack Busser will take home the win here at Circuit of the America. What happened to McLeod? McLeod falls back to third. Jeff Seville moving into the race lead. Carrillo taking over second. As Jack Busser pulls over in turn one to celebrate a big win. Daniel Smith takes the checkered. Aiden Young will bring home third for the GTPs. And let's see where Jeff Seville is out on track. What a wild night here under the Texas sun. McLeod looks like he's moving back up into second, takes over the spot from Carrillo. Julian Swanson moves up to third. What happened to Carrillo? I'm not seeing any big mistakes here in the live timing software. Oh, he had an off track there, and that's what's gonna, oh no, Carrillo pulls over. I want to take a look at the results here and get some clarification. Because I'm not entirely sure what's happening. The broadcast software shows Seville, McLeod, and Swanson as still racing. So Seville looks like he's giving a bit of a shimmy there. I believe that's going to be the PCC win. Michael McLeod makes his way around the final corner, bringing home second in class, and signs off in spectacular fashion. And then Julian Swanson says, hey, I'm going to help you out with a great third place. So let's go ahead and pull up the results. Now, these are the unofficial results. If you have questions, check out the Porsche Cup Challenge Discord. It's going to be linked at the description below. But right now, the unofficial results showing Jack Busser as the overall as well as the GTP class winner. He's accompanied by Daniel Smith in second and Aiden Young in third. And then we check out our Porsche Cup Challenge drivers, where it's showing Jeff Seville, your race winner, accompanied by Michael McLeod in second, and Julian Swanson rounding out the top three. On behalf of the Porsche Cup Challenge Series, my name has been James East with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting. Thank you all so much for tuning in, supporting the show, and I'll see you at the next one. Have a great night, everybody.